Friday to all of you. Thanks for joining me. As always, Everything Pat's a New England Patriots live stream and podcast, 3 p.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday here on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Pods. You know the deal. The preseason is finally over. Thank God. Thank God we made it through, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, we have made it through another preseason. And last night's game was brutal. Had many thoughts about some of the players that are battling for roster positions during last night's Locked On episode that I recorded. You can check that out, Locked On Patriots. But cuts have already been made. Mike Vrabel came out earlier today, met with the media, and he announced the following cuts. Linebacker R.J. Moten, running back Micah Bernard, tight end Cole Fotheringham, defensive tackle Kyle Petco, running back Shane Watts, quarterback Ben Woldridge, wide receiver Phil Lutz, linebacker Monty Rice, guard Sidney So, defensive tackle Philip Bliddy, cornerback Jordan Polk, tight end Jaheim Bell, cornerback Isaiah Bolden, and interior offensive lineman Tyrese Robinson. 14 cuts in all. I'm not surprised by really any of them. I will say I'm mildly surprised with Kyle Petco. He was just signed a week or two ago, has history with his coaching staff. I am somewhat surprised that they cut Petco this early. Not that he's a cut, but this early in the process. So let's go through the roster reset. Couple of notes I want to hit at the beginning, and then I'm going to go through my 53-man roster. As of right now, of course, all of this is fluid. Patriots have a few more days to get down to 53. And then, of course, you're looking at other teams making cuts. Maybe a trade is involved here. So this is the right now, Friday, August 22nd, 3 p.m. Eastern, 53-man roster here on Everything Pats. But let's get to a few notes before I get to the 53-man. Jalen Polk, news came out yesterday that he had a season-ending injury. It is a shoulder injury, and this stinks for Jalen Polk. And I know how all of you feel, or most of you feel, about Jalen Polk, and I am disappointed. I liked the pick last year. I thought it was a good pick. Egg on my face last season. Was hoping he would be able to turn it around in his second season, but this was a mess from the beginning. Had shoulder surgery during the offseason, was trying to work his way back, missed OTAs, missed mandatory minicamp, was ready for training camp in the second week, gets out there in the first preseason game against Washington, his very first touch, he gets hurt again. And it's his shoulder again. So 2 times he has had a significant shoulder injury since being drafted by the Patriots. Not good at all. And it's very difficult to envision Jalen Polk being on this roster by 2026. So tough for him, trying to get back. Never really had the opportunity because of the injuries to show that he could do anything after that terrible rookie season. But it is what it is. We are where we are. Polk done for the season. Mike Vrabel had a very interesting quote last night talking about wanting to find the rats. He was not happy that this story got out. He did not want people to know that Polk was headed to the IR, and he was pretty miffed at the idea of somebody leaking that information. He is on some kind of mission to find the rats within the organization, leaking this stuff. I don't know if he will be successful, and I'm sure there are more than 2 people, 3 people leaking this information to the media. So Jalen Polk, done for the year. I want to look at the offensive snaps from last night's game because I did not have the snaps in totality as I recorded the Locked On Patriots episode. And I want to take a look at a couple of guys that I think, when you look at the snaps from last night, it means something. It tells us where certain guys are on this roster. For example, Marcus Bryant last night, he only took 10 snaps. Only 10 snaps for Bryant. That's the same amount of snaps for, Jared Wilson and Ben Brown. So 10 snaps for Marcus Bryant. Vidarian Lowe, on the other hand, had 35 snaps. So that tells us Marcus Bryant is the 3rd offensive tackle on this team. If there was any doubt, if there was any question, Marcus Bryant right now is your top tackle on the bench. He is your swing guy. Vidarian Lowe is behind him. And that's why Lowe gets 35 snaps. Bryant gets 10 snaps in last night's game. Caden Wallace played a ton of football last night. Wallace had 49 snaps in that game. And I just have to imagine this was done so the Patriots could get a really good look at Caden Wallace and give him an honest opportunity to win an interior offensive line spot. Drafted him as a right tackle, try to make him work as a left tackle. Neither went as well as the Patriots wanted it to. So Wallace has been repping at left guard this entire camp. And it's obvious the Patriots are trying to figure out that interior offensive line and just trying to find somebody that can provide depth. And Wallace getting 49 snaps last night feels like a true audition for him to make this roster. Show us good football, give us good film, and you might make it. You might be that guy as the backup interior offensive lineman along with Ben Brown if Brown doesn't start. If Brown doesn't start, of course, Jared Wilson will be in there. If Wilson doesn't start, it'll be Ben Brown. Defensive snaps. I talked a little bit about this on last night's Lockdown that was released late night. It's there for you to check out. Keon White played a lot. White finished with 30 snaps in last night's game. And that shows us that he is your fifth or sixth defensive lineman in this mix. He's behind Harold Landry, obviously. He is now behind K'Lavon Chaisson. That happened this week when Chaisson officially leapfrogged him at practice. Chaisson was not dressed last night. Neither was Landry. So clearly those two guys are well ahead of Keon White at this moment. And then you look at the interior defensive line. If you wanted to try to move White inside, well, he's behind Barmore. He's behind Milton Williams. I think he's behind Kyrie's Tonga on the interior defensive line. So when you look at Keon, had a great start to his camp, now probably the fifth or sixth defensive lineman on this depth chart. Played 30 snaps last night. I know Vrabel said he wanted to work on things, but if Keon White is going to be a valuable starter for this team, he would not be playing 30 snaps. Jabril Peppers played around 20 snaps last night, and that was because Vrabel said he wanted Woodson and Peppers to work together because they had not worked together in a preseason game. So the Keon White stuff, he keeps sliding. He keeps sliding. We'll see what happens. He makes the roster, in my eyes, but we'll see what happens after he makes the roster. Will he be able to stick? Will he be an impact player week in and week out? Big time question. I would say the fourth and fifth cornerbacks on the team, they're safe. The deep cornerback bench last night struggled mightily. Alex Austin, DJ James, they played 10 snaps apiece. So you see the theme here. You know, Austin and James, 10 snaps. Bryant, 10 snaps. I believe Wilson and Brown, 10 snaps. Those guys are the safe guys on this roster. They got some work. Team wanted to see a few things from them, and then you move forward with the other guys and let them play out the string against the Giants. So Austin and James, 10 snaps apiece, limited work last night. Those are your fourth and fifth cornerbacks on this roster. I think you look at Christian Gonzalez, you look at Carlton Davis as your obvious 1 and 2, Marcus Jones, and then you got Austin, you got James. Those are your 5 cornerbacks. Will there be a 6th cornerback? We'll talk about that in a few minutes. So those are all notes. Those are all notes from last night, the last 24 hours, how the snaps were divvied up, and why they were divvied up the way they were. All right, I'm going to make a run at a 53-man roster before chaos breaks out, because chaos is very likely to break out over the next few days. If you heard Vrabel's press conference last night, he sounded like a head coach who is unequivocally going to add people to this roster. I don't think Vrabel feels like this is the final 53. I don't think he feels it's even close to being a final 53. So be ready for plenty of moves to happen over the next few days. I would be very surprised if the Patriots don't make multiple moves. Could be trades, could be picking up guys on the waiver wire, but I think they will be a busy organization over the next 2 or 3 days. But before we get to the 53-man roster that I have, taking out that scalpel, carving some up, before we get to that, don't forget to help us out. Click that thumbs up as you watch on YouTube, whether it's on demand or watching live right now. Give us that thumbs up. Click that like button. Helps us with the algorithm. Throw a comment in. 53-man roster. Who do you think just makes it? Who survives? Who survived after last night's game? Who were you surprised? by the way they looked during that Giants game last night. So don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe. Now we're jumping. Over 7,000, I believe, 30 subscribers last time I checked. Thanks to all of you. So like, comment, subscribe, and Apple Pods, Spotify friends, rate, review, follow, all those good things. Throw the comments in there as well. Those 5-star ratings mean an awful lot. All right, let's jump to this 53-man roster. And I'm gonna go position by position here. And I will break down each position in my thoughts, whether I'm comfortable with where they're at, whether I'm not comfortable where they're at. So let's go. Let's start with quarterback. This is easy. I mean, Wooldridge was cut already. Right now, you got 2 quarterbacks on your roster. You've got May, you've got Dobbs. I would love an upgrade over Joshua Dobbs. If there's any possibility of an upgrade. I mean, I was watching Tommy DeVito last night, feeling envious. Like, the Giants have 4 quarterbacks on the roster. I think all 4 guys are better than Joshua Dobbs. And I'm going to tell you, the Dobbs to Kyle Williams throw, leaving Williams to hang out to dry, and the fact that, Williams is dealing with, I think, a concussion. Let's hope he's back by week 1, but slowed Williams' momentum. That bothers me. And it bothers me to my core. I can't get over that throw. And Dobbs is known for that. He has put his receivers in harm's way multiple times during this preseason. He's done it through his career. So I would love an upgrade over Dobbs if you can get one. I don't know if you can. I'm not comfortable with him on the roster, but you might not be able to upgrade from him, and you might have to live with the situation for 2025. So May and Dobbs, your 2 quarterbacks. Let's jump to the running backs. Some people believe the Patriots will carry 4 running backs. I've got the Patriots carrying 3 running backs, and we know who they are. Ramondre Stevenson, Antonio Gibson, TreVeyon Henderson. I think all 3 guys will get touches. You've heard me rave about TreVeyon Henderson since the night he was drafted, his ability, what he can do. And I think they're going to carry 3 running backs. JaMycal Hasty, I believe, will end up on the practice squad. And then you'll see what happens. Terrell Jennings might end up on the practice squad, but I think they start the season with 3 running backs, thinking they can slide a 4th guy to that practice squad and survive. Let's get to wide receiver. Man, have we talked a lot about wide receiver, right? I mean, wide receiver, nonstop. We've spent just a ton of our content on this position. Will they carry 6? Will they carry 7? I have them carrying 7 right now. There's just a lot of unknowns. How close to 100% is Diggs? I mean, I know he was healthy to start training camp day 1. He had a very good practice on Tuesday. Was that the beginning? Was he kind of playing the rope-a-dope as a veteran? It's camp. He's not really too freaked out about it. Then you get to that final practice before the final preseason game, and he has his best practice in like a week or so. So Diggs, obviously on the team. Pop Douglas, obviously on the team. Mac Hollins. Let's talk about Mac Hollins for a minute. I think Hollins has been really good, relatively speaking. He's not a 1, he's not a 2, but Hollins has had a really good camp ever since coming off PUP. And he looks like somebody who's going to absolutely help this team and help Drake May. So Hollins, a lock. Kyle Williams, a lock. Kayshon Boutte, a lock. Then you have the fun. We've known those 5 guys were going to be on this team going back a couple weeks ago. Diggs, Pop, Hollins, Williams, Boutte. Those 5 have been on the team since late July. Efton Chisholm's on the team. Chisholm makes it. I don't think there's much doubt about that. After his game against the Vikings, I think he clearly makes it. Of course, he's dealing with an injury. We'll see what that injury is. But he was on the stationary bike this week early on at practice, so it doesn't seem like it's something super serious or significant. Efton Chisholm's on the team. There is 6 right there. The ultimate question is Javon Baker. Does Javon Baker make the team? I have Baker on the team right now. It's not an easy call. I can easily agree with people who might have him off the team. He was miserable last night on offense. However, special teams. The combination of the Kyle Williams, Efton Chisholm injury deal, And Baker's ability on special teams puts him on my 53. Last night, he made 2 big plays on special teams. He drew a penalty on one punt, and then he just, railroaded his blocker right into the punt returner last night. Back into the punt returner, fumbled punt, Patriots recover. 2 gigantic plays on special teams. And Marcellus Dial was one of the gunners before Baker started to do this. And obviously, Dial tore his ACL. And the Patriots, I don't think they have a lot of options that they love in that special team spot. So Javon Baker's been the guy the last couple of weeks, and he's consistently made plays on special teams. So I think Baker survives. I think he survives this. I think he's there on week 1. I don't know if he's going to be there by week 8, but I think Javon Baker right now is on the roster because of the special teams work. Now, if the Patriots can find somebody else that gets cut, that can work on special teams that they like a little bit more than Baker, Baker could easily be gone by early next week. He could be gone by tonight. But right now, Javon Baker is on my 53-man roster because of the special teams contributions. Tight end, Henry and Hooper, locks. Jake Westover right now is your third tight end. I would 100% look for an upgrade over Westover. Oh, and by the way, one thing about wide receiver, Kendrick Bourne. He's on trade watch. He's on. I think Kendrick Bourne will be traded by the next few days. I have a feeling he's going to be traded, whether it's to San Francisco or somewhere else. I know San Francisco traded for Sky Moore. Sky Moore did not play one game last year. He's been banged up. He did very little in Kansas City. Sky Moore is a depth piece. San Francisco is dealing with 3 or 4 different situations at wide receiver between injury and suspension. I'm still looking at Kendrick Bourne as a possibility for San Francisco. I just don't think Bourne makes this team. Now, if Bourne does make the team, I think he makes it over Baker. But again, the special team stuff we talk about. So I think Kendrick Bourne's on trade watch. If you can get a 5th round pick, 6th round pick, I think he's gone. Tight end, let's get back to Westover. I would absolutely look for an upgrade over Westover. He's not good enough. And I've been talking about this. I harped on this very early. All of you know. I have been talking about the tight end position since the beginning of OTAs and how thin it is. And that you have 2 guys who are in their 30s and you're putting an awful lot on Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper. And if one of those guys goes down, you are in big time trouble, especially with how much Josh McDaniels loves utilizing his tight ends. They have to upgrade at the 3rd tight end spot. And I'd imagine they're hoping right now that somebody gets cut at that position, or maybe they can wheel and deal for somebody. The Giants had a couple of guys last night that looked pretty good, deep tight ends. Maybe you look at Dulcich after last night's game. But they have to upgrade over Westover. They have to. All right, let's get to the offensive line. Before we do, want to jump in with a super chat. My guy Charlie, $10 super chat. Excellent breakdown, Nick. I'm big on Baker as a special teams guy. I love his attitude and potential there. Yeah, Charlie, I think Vrabel likes Baker. Baker has talked glowingly about Vrabel. Not that that's why you make a football team, but I do think Baker has picked up what Vrabel's put down. And I think his special team stuff is just, it's too valuable right now. And special teams looks really good. Jeremy Springer's got those guys playing well. And I think Baker's going to make it because of that. Thank you for the $10 super chat, my man. All right, let's look at the offensive tackles. Let's go to the offensive line. Obviously, Will Campbell, Morgan Moses, Marcus Bryant, they're all on the team. They're locks. Vidarian Lowe's on the team. I have 4 offensive tackles right now. I would absolutely be looking for offensive tackle help. I'm not comfortable taking 4 into the season, but I don't think a 5th has earned it. I don't think any of the other tackles that have been out there have earned it. So Campbell, Moses, Bryant, and Lowe right now are my only offensive tackles on the 53. I would love to find a 5th guy if I could find a 5th guy, whether it's via trade, whether it's via picking somebody up on the waiver wire again. As I've mentioned a few times already, I would love another offensive tackle. But right now, Campbell, Moses, Bryant, and Lowe are the only guys that deserve to be on this football team. Guards, center, interior offensive lineman. Obviously, Jared Wilson. Obviously, Mike Owenu. Garrett Bradbury did not dress last night. He's a lock. Ben Brown, I think at this point, is a lock. Ben Brown is a lock. He has played some center. He's played some left guard. He has not embarrassed himself at either position. He has done well enough, I think, to win the staff over, to make them believe that he is a legitimate interior offensive lineman. He did pretty well last year in pass protection at the center spot. So Ben Brown is on this team, and it's really the battle of who is the fifth interior offensive lineman. Are you bringing 5 onto the team? I am. I'm bringing 5 because I'm not I'm not overly committed to Garrett Bradbury, okay? I feel like I'm almost more committed to Ben Brown than I am Bradbury. The fifth guy right now, and it's almost by default, is Caden Wallace. Caden Wallace got almost 50 snaps last night. I would put Wallace on there. Hope he fulfills his potential, figures things out at left guard. So right now, my 5 interior offensive linemen, Wilson, Owenu, Bradbury, Wallace, and Brown, I would look for an upgrade. I would look for upgrades, baby. I would be out there combing the waiver wire for anybody that's played guard at the NFL level and hasn't stunk, because I'm not comfortable with having Wallace out there, especially given that I'm not super comfortable with Bradbury to begin with. Anonymous with the $10 super chat. So excited to see the final roster, as am I, Anonymous. Thank you for the $10. I think the Patriots will continue to make moves, continue to refine this 53-man roster. They know that their depth is an issue, and they want to improve upon that. But thank you for the 10, Anonymous. Means an awful lot. I appreciate you. All right, so that's your offense. That's your offense. Let's jump to the defense. Let's start with defensive end. Landry, lock. K'Lavon Chaisson, lock. Swinson, lock. And then it gets interesting. White, to me, is still a lock for this roster. I know he played a ton last night, but Keon White, to me, is still on this roster. So Landry, White, Chaisson, Swinson, they're on this roster. Then it gets interesting. You've got Elijah Ponder, you've got Truman Jones, and you've got Anfernee Jennings. And right now, I have Ponder and Jennings on this roster. Ponder last night had another 2 or 3 pressures. We talked about him on the Locked On podcast this week. Mike Smith, the outside linebackers coach, pass rush specialist, has been raving about Elijah Ponder. I think he's going to make this roster as a UDFA. I do. I think he's going to make the roster. So I've got Ponder on there, and I've got Jennings. Jennings went from, somebody who was on the outskirts of the roster to getting on the second defensive unit. He seems like he's making a little bit of a charge the last week or two. He obviously had that great game against Minnesota. And right now, if you can't trade Anfernee Jennings, then he's on my roster. If you can trade Jennings, if you can get a 4th-round pick or a 5th-round pick, I would entertain trading Jennings. But I would not just get rid of Jennings. I would not just get rid of him. I wouldn't throw him out in the trash, so to speak. He's a legitimate NFL player. I know he's not a great fit for this system, but he is a good defensive end. He's a good edge, and you just don't give him away with this roster. This roster is not good enough to give away players like Jennings via dumping him, cutting him. So I think Jennings is on this roster if they can't get a trade done. If Jennings is traded, I'm taking Truman Jones. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to continue with the defense on the 53, but first, thank you, Terry, so much. Getting closer to September 7th, my birthday, and our first game. What about that timing, huh? Your birthday and kickoff of the 2025 season. Hopefully it's a great game against the Raiders that day. But thank you so much for the 50, Terry. Your incredible generosity, your support this entire time. Can't say enough. Patreon member since like day one. If you want to check out the Patreon, by the way, patreon.com/Nick Cattles. I think I'm going to add a couple of new cool elements at the Patreon that you guys are going to like. But thank you, Terry, so much for the 50. Means the world to me. Means the world to me. All right, so that's defensive end. Interior defensive line. We've got the obvious. Barmore, Milton Williams, Tonga, Farmer. All 4 of those guys, locks. They're all locks. With Petco getting released today, I've got Jeremiah Farms on the roster. Now, this could be another spot where they move away from Farms. Are they looking for an upgrade over Farms? But right now, I've got Farms making the team. Petco getting cut, I think, is an indication that they want to keep Farms around at least for the next couple of days. Maybe I'm wrong. But right now, I've got Farms going with the other four guys that are obvious: Barmore, Williams, Tonga, and Farmer. By the way, Farmer made, he had a couple of plays last night, and he's been making a little bit of a charge up the depth chart as the camp has gone on. And I think Joshua Farmer might end up playing a bigger role by the middle to end of this season than we might have thought initially. Cornerback, interesting. We'll get there in a minute, but I want to actually get to inside linebacker because this is also a fascinating spot. Spillane's obvious. Gibbons is obvious. Ellis is obvious. And then you get to the other guys. Now, Monty Rice was cut today, so we know he ain't making it. You look at some of the others. Jelani Tavai, he has not been practicing. He has not been in these games. They have kept him on the roster. Are they looking to try to trade him? Maybe. Is Jelani Tavai on this roster? Right now, I would lean towards yes, but it's like a 52-48. It's almost a coin flip. And the guy that I tweeted this out last night. Marte Mapu played well last night, and he's been out there on the field pretty consistently over the past couple weeks. Marte Mapu has an outside shot of making this team at linebacker. And I think that has to do with, the roster more than it does with Mapu. But he had a good game last night, and he looks more comfortable at linebacker. I would not write him off just yet. But right now, if you ask me, I think Tavai's on the roster. I think he makes it. Spillane, Gibbons, Ellis, Tavai. If Tavai goes on the IR, if they can work out a trade for Tavai, then I think you might see Marte Mapu on this 53-man roster early next week. Let's get to cornerback. We know the obvious ones, right? Gonzo, Davis, Austin, Jones, and DJ James. I think those guys are absolutely on this team. DJ James had a really good camp. Marcus Jones is somebody who has consistently been out there with the starters. Gonzalez, Davis, we know about them. Alex Austin is absolutely on this team. So that's 5. The question is, will they take 6 cornerbacks onto the 53-man roster? Right now, I only have them with 5. I'm not comfortable with putting any of the other guys on this roster. Miles Battle had a pretty good camp, but he's fallen off. Tough game last night. Kobe Minor, Mr. Irrelevant, tough game last night. Jordan Polk, I thought, might have had an outside chance of making this roster. He had 2 penalties last night. He was cut today. There's nobody beyond DJ James right now. Isaiah Bolden was cut. There's nobody on this roster that I would stand and pound my fist on the table for as a 6th cornerback. There's nobody right now. So Gonzalez, Davis, Austin, Jones, and James are my 5, and I am scouring the waiver wire. I'm keeping an eye on who might be available at cornerback who could provide some extra depth. I would like to have 6, but I don't think anybody has earned that 6th spot. I just don't. I don't think they've done it. Marcellus Dial, if he stayed healthy, probably would have ended up being my 6th. Baker would have probably been cut. Dial would have been your gunner and your 6th corner. Dial tears his ACL. So I think they're still looking for, that 6th cornerback. Safety. This is interesting. Peppers, obvious. Hawkins, obvious. Woodson, obvious. And yes, I have Kyle Duggar on this team. Right now, August 22nd, 3:29 Eastern time, I've got Kyle Duggar on the team. I've got Duggar over Epps. I've got Duggar over Pettis. And, I think some of it is the money, but also Duggar has shown some improvement. And last night was Duggar's best preseason game. Last night, he looked his most comfortable on the football field. And I know he's playing against threes. I understand. but he was assignment responsible last night. He played disciplined football. He was hitting people, screaming downfield, making sure he was downhill, making some vicious hits. And I think Duggar last night did enough to at least stay on this team for now. And Andrew Callahan caught up with Duggar last night, and he said it's weird. There's, little stuff like that where some stuff feels fine, and then other times it's like, whoa, okay, that didn't feel like it normally feels. I don't always know where there's going to be rust, and that's kind of been the hardest part. One play, I will be where I know I can be, and then I'm not in some areas, unquote. And I thought Duggar last night looked faster, which means he was more comfortable where he was supposed to be. He was more comfortable with his role in what was being asked of him. And so, we talk about the third preseason game, and it doesn't mean a lot for most of those guys last night, but it means an awful lot for 10 to 15 guys. So, you look at those 10 to 15 guys, one of those guys was Duggar. And I thought he played well last night. And I thought he survived, and I think he has saved his Patriot life for now. For now. Duggar insisted, Callahan wrote, his lackluster performance is not a symptom of lingering physical problems, but mental mistakes, which is awesome. The fact that Duggar is not blaming his surgery from like February. He's saying, no, this isn't a physical thing. This is mental. This is me screwing up. I like that accountability. Diagnosing plays a half second too late, poor awareness, or simply missing assignments. Duggar hinted his tumble down the depth chart is part of a steep learning curve with the new scheme and missing all of the team's spring practices. Now, I would say that Duggar has missed assignments and lacked focus in the past, so I wouldn't write all of that off just to missing spring practices and learning a new scheme. We have seen Duggar time and time again blow assignments on the deep end. That has happened. But it's certainly not an easy transition for him. Callahan writes, even though Duggar looks a half step slow when he's headed in the right direction, the 29-year-old safety said his recent play is a massive improvement from earlier this summer. Quote, oh man, a lot different. The first day it was tough. It was really tough because I didn't know where I would be. My game's not anywhere close to where I want to be and where I feel like I could be, where I'm going to be, but it is getting better slowly. Now, you might write that all off and say, oh, of course, Duggar's going to look at the optimistic side and all that stuff. But Mike Vrabel actually agreed with Duggar last night. Vrabel speaking to the media, and now, of course, this could be Vrabel trying to be part salesman so they can trade Duggar. But Vrabel also talked about Duggar getting better as camp has gone on. And Callahan posted, Vrabel sounds happy with Duggar's performance, noting the interception and his tackling, says he's gotten better recently. Mark Daniels posted, Vrabel says Duggar is feeling more comfortable after, quote, a long rehab process. It looks like he's feeling better on tape. And I would agree with that. Again, last night's game I thought was the fastest we've seen Duggar play in a while. He had a little bit of an extra boost to his play. So right now, Duggar's on the team. Duggar's the fourth safety. He's on the team for me. Specialists. Parker Romo over Andy Baragalis right now. Of course, this could be different in the next couple days. Of course, Borregales might make it because he was picked by the team. But Parker Romo overall has been the better kicker. And yes, it's only been by a couple of kicks, but he's been better. Results are results. Parker Romo's the kicker. And then you got the three other specialists who are obvious with Barringer, Ashby, and Schooler. By the way, did you notice Parker Romo didn't kick last night? There's got to be a reason why Borregales was the only guy making attempting kicks last night, right? There's got to be a reason. So the players I just gave you, I just ran through. I didn't give you 53. I gave you 52. There's one more spot left on this team. Does it go to a sixth cornerback? Does it go to a sixth interior offensive lineman? Does it go to a fifth off-the-ball linebacker as Jelani Tavai insurance? I don't know. But I would start at offensive line because of how crucial it is. So there's my, in actuality, 52-man roster. And let's just throw in Jelani Tavai, And then we'll add Marte Mapu. We'll say Mapu is the 53rd guy for now. But that's how it breaks down. I think this team is going to be very, very busy over the next few days. Keep an eye on Twitter. Keep an eye out on my Twitter at Nick C Radio. I got a big party tomorrow to get to, so I don't know how active on Twitter I will be tomorrow. But it's going to be a busy few days. It's going to be a busy few days. I have no doubt about that. Mr. Snoopy jumps in with a $2 super chat. Why didn't we sign Noah Fant? WTF, he went for peanuts. Well, I don't know if Noah Fant wanted to be with the Patriots. I don't know if Noah Fant was open to the idea of the Patriots. So he went to what? The Bengals, right? He went to the Bengals, I believe, right? Just want to make sure. 99% confident that he went to the Bengals. Yes. Noah Fant might have just looked at it and said, I can absolutely eat in that Cincy offense with Joe Burrow and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase and Gesicki and Brown in the backfield. He might have just looked at it and said, better quarterback, better offense, better opportunity. I don't know. I don't know if they called him. I don't know if they looked into him. I have no idea. But he was a guy that I would have certainly been interested in, Mr. Snoopy. I would have made the call because this team, no doubt, needs a third tight end. No doubt. Don't forget to like. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to subscribe. As always, those things help us. They don't take a lot of your time. You don't have to pay for anything. Like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, follow, Spotify, Apple Pods. Appreciate you. Everybody have a fantastic weekend, and we will be back on Monday.